Tonight on CTV News, it's time to speak up and have your say on how the council uses your money. We'll assess the rebuild with commentator Dion Swiggs and more delays for schools waiting for earthquake repairs.
Broadcasting across Canterbury, from the CTV studio, this is First at 5.
Good evening. Christchurch residents can have their say today on the council's long-term plan, which includes solutions to help fight its billion-dollar deficit. The draft proposal outlines how the council will pay for just about everything it wants to do over the next 10 or so years. It proposes a rate increase of average of about 8.5% over the next 4 years, and $750 million worth of asset sales. Copies of the consultation documents are now available online or at council service centres across the city, libraries, and of course you can make submissions via post, online, social media, petition and meet the councillors. Submissions close in 6 weeks' time at midday on Tuesday, the 28th of April. Well, it's the latest in the council's social housing rebuild program and first for Littleton since the earthquakes. But it's not just about rehousing those who need it most. It's also about keeping the community intact, as Jared McCulloch explains.
A second chance for these historic social housing units being restored to their former glory at this reopening ceremony. It's one of the first completed projects in Littleton, restocking the council's portfolio of public flats, taking a huge hit in the February 2011 earthquake. And the council's social housing manager says there's been a lot of work to get these houses back in shape, and they're better than ever.
With respect to this complex, it was actually not a very good complex before the earthquakes. It was cold, there were no insulation in the walls, very little in the ceiling and that. So it's one of these rare occasions where the actual earthquakes gave us an opportunity to improve things for the tenants.
The flats were earmarked for demolition following the quakes, but there was a change of tactic from the council, who decided to repair.
Sarah had actually issued a Section 38 demolition order for the complex, but I'm pleased to say council took a brave step and actually decided to repair the complex, and in repairing it we fully insulated it. We've strengthened it up to the 100% of the new building standards, so they're now warm, cosy and strong units and fit for purpose. So we're looking forward to getting the tenants back in and working our way through the rest of the units within the Littleton side.
There was severe damage to all 4 units, seeing cracks and gaps throughout, with it immediately closed and the tenants relocated. Now he says with the flats open, it's a great step forward for the Littleton community.
I think it's pretty big for Littleton. We've got 4 social housing complexes over here. This is the second of which that we've repaired, and we're working our way through the remaining 2 there. So it's really great to get these back into service and to demonstrate that we're making good tangible progress.
The cottage was built back in 1965 and is named after Gladys Boyd, one of the first female councillors elected to the township's board in 1947. The 4 flats were originally built to cater for pensioners, as there was a need for them at the time, and her name was chosen for her services to the community. And the grandson of Gladys says he's happy to see the cottage restored.
I thought the world of my grandmother, and to me it's fantastic. I'm wrapped. I really was keen on this, push for it, and it is a very deep meaning for myself and my son. He's a great-grandson, and the Boyd name that Grandma, this was named after her because of the work she did in the community. In fact, the other set of cottages called Tredenick, and the other down the main street, London Street, after my other grandfather on my other side, because both of them did a lot of work in the community. So it's great. I just think it's fabulous.
The Banks Peninsula Councillor says the repair of these facilities is important to keep up with demand.
Any social housing in Littleton is always in high demand. Littleton's a classic example of they're not making any more land. It's a finite space. It's enclosed by the hills around the top and the water at the bottom. And of course, Littleton is a real community. So when people are living here, they want to continue living here. Of course, property prices in Littleton have escalated significantly even since the earthquakes, and had been doing for some time before that. And rents have gone up in Littleton as well. So to be able to use these social housing units to allow people to remain in the Littleton community and to continue paying affordable rents, be part of their support networks and social networks here is hugely important.
And he says the social housing block will help with other repairs going on in the community.
We've now got 2 people living in 2 of the units, and we've got the other 2 units available, and we're going to be using those as temporary accommodation for tenants of other social housing units in Littleton, which are going to be repaired in the near future as well.
So it's another achievement from the City Council, with an ongoing issue heading in the right direction. Jared McCulloch, CTV News.
We turn our attention now to the day's top story, and police say there are no rules around light aircraft having to actually provide flight plans prior to takeoff. This comes after a Christchurch family of 4 died near Wanaka after their Cessna went down yesterday morning. Paul McDonald, his wife Kate and their children Georgie, who was 7, and Ben, just 5, were killed when their Cessna 185 plane crashed in the Mutatapu River area near Wanaka. Both parents worked in the aviation industry. The plane wasn't spotted until at least an hour after it was believed to have crashed, and police say the plane wasn't being tracked from takeoff, so sadly emergency services weren't tipped off when the plane went down. And just a further note to that story, police say there are no rules that require light aircraft pilots to provide flight plans. Well, to be sure, Canterbury police have been out in force on one of the busiest drinking days of the year, St Patrick's Day. And tonight, we're hoping it won't get messy.
It's a notoriously messy time of the year, St Patrick's Day, when the Guinness flows all day and all night. But so far, everyone has been behaving themselves. Canterbury police staff patrolling in Christchurch City have reported a happy family atmosphere, with a few people enjoying an Irish-themed breakfast and entertainment. Inspector Paul Framo is overseeing today's district-wide operation. As this is the first St Patrick's Day with the lower alcohol limit, he's urging revellers to drink responsibly. Additional prevention and road policing staff have been rostered on to undertake high visibility patrols in the entertainment areas to make sure everyone has a good reason to remember their St Patrick's Day celebrations. Additional staff will be deployed until early tomorrow morning, and checkpoints will be in operation across the district to target drink driving. The new lower alcohol limit of 250 megagrams of alcohol per litre of breath will be heavily enforced. The final message from police is to stay safe tonight without becoming another one of their statistics.
And still with St Paddy's Day, we now turn our attention to the east. And it's fair to say police won't be needed to pay a visit to Betty Chapman's Eastern group of ladies tonight. They've enjoyed a very tame afternoon, embracing all things Irish.
Well, we're just going green. I do fun things now over here all the time, and we just thought we'd go green for St Patrick's and have Irish music, line dancing and Irish music tomorrow with Sit and Be Fit, and we dress in green, eat in green, and just have a fun time.
Is the Guinness flowing?
No, sorry, not this early in the morning, Marcus. No, we've got green milk.
Green milk doesn't sound too appetising.
And we've got green soft drink and green other drinks as well, but no Guinness here. No, sorry.
How important is it for these ladies to embrace St Patrick's Day today? Is it a
good.
highlight on the calendar?
It is, because we all go green and we all have fun, and some of us think we haven't got anything green, but when we look around we have, and it's good to see them all here today, all in different shades of green. So yeah, it's been a fun time.
Some of them are in pretty unfortunate circumstances at the moment, dealing with rebuilds and things like that. It's not easy, but today's a good day for it.
Yes, it is, because it takes them out of that zone and puts them into a more happier frame of mind, and that's why we focus a lot on fun here now. Yeah, and we will continue to do so. There's still people being shifted out. One lady rang this morning, she won't be in because she's shifting back into her new home, but she's in her 80s and she's not very well stress-wise. Yeah, so it's fun.
Very nice. Well, still to come here on CTV News, the very latest on the Christchurch rebuild with Rebuild Christchurch commentator Dion Swiggs. Welcome back to CTV News. Well, it's been a long time coming, but the Bridge Street and Ferrymead bridges are nearly fixed. Other good news, the city's retail precinct is all go, and this week thousands of residents find out just how much EQC will pay them for being on flood-prone land. There's quite a lot going on in this city and to discuss all this is Rebuild commentator Dion Swiggs. Good evening to you.
G'day, Chris.
Great to have you on the program. In terms of EQC payout, they're going to start paying out flood-prone victims already. What's the latest with this, Dion?
If everybody can remember, we had the declaratory judgment last year, so there was a lot of confusion around what was going on with the land claims. So basically what this means is EQC is going to pay out on people with increased flooding vulnerability to their land. There's a number of criteria related to around that, so if your land has dropped more than 200 millimetres over the Canterbury earthquake sequence, or over 100, and including also up to 100 millimetres per one event. So then you'll then that means that you're actually entitled to the payout from EQC. There's about 9,600 people that are going to be able to get this payout. They've sent out letters to 20 people this week to pilot this and get it out. Next week will be 30, after that will be 50, and they're going to ramp up to getting 300 people from April this year. So basically not everybody will be told straight away. It's going to be a slow process, but what it means is that now people will start getting this process through the line. If you do have issues around the EQC payout, you can, or what they're going to be doing, or what the EQC are doing is they're actually going to have the diminishing of value. So basically they're going to pay out on what the value of the land is now and what it was before the earthquakes. And if you have any issues with that, you can always contest it.
What about the fact that with sea levels potentially rising, how will people who live near coastal areas be seen in all of this?
Yeah, so that is actually included into the whole diminishing of value. There's a 1 in 100 event for 1 in 100 year event for flooding, and it's 1 in 10 year event for high tide levels. So the likes of say South Shore and things like that, we're going to have to start realising that these in 100 years the sea level is going to be rising a metre. Some of these properties are going to be right on the foreshore or actually underwater by high tide level in 100 years. So we need to be starting to think about what does that mean for the future.
Some positive news in terms of the retail precinct for Central City Christchurch. I got quite excited when I saw the video, the crossing development of. It's looking good though. Yeah,
no, it's looking fantastic. So last week the Carter Group announced what they're doing with the crossing. So that's a massive, awesome $150 million retail precinct, retail stores inside that precinct, and it's going to have malls. It's like an open air mall. If you go to Victoria, they've got a few around there. But what's really good about this is the whole retail precinct is actually starting to come together. So you can look at this. There's a big 8-storey car park that's going to be included with that. You go across the road in the Triangle Centre where Hallenstein's used to be. They're going to have the ANZ Centre in there. The ANZ Centre looks amazing. If you look at the concept images of that, just have a look on Google.
I was going to actually pick you up on that. The crossing development, the Triangle Centre development, that seems like it's been a long time coming. I recall the glass structure being put out, it seems like nearly 2 years ago.
Yeah, so the groundwork is done. So they've just dug out all the ground, and so the foundation's being laid there. And then you go across the road, you've got Hereford Street, you've got the government offices that have been built there at the moment with the big crane up there. Stage 1 is going to be complete sort of about mid-year, so there's going to be some government workers going in there. And then Stage 2 across the road or across that, which fronts on Cashel Street, is going to be open starting then, so that's going to be really good as well.
BNZ Centre Stage 1 on Hereford Street, I just want to take me to that. Now, is that where it almost looked like it was almost a swimming pool at one stage?
Yeah, so we actually had our, if you actually go back and have a look on our website, we actually had a cricket pitch there. So when it was actually red zone, soccer pitch, we put a soccer pitch there. We had the All Whites play when the All Whites played in Christchurch. It was about 2 years ago now. So that development's there. And then you actually go across, and then you've also got now we've actually got confirmation about Anthony Goff's development, the terrace. So that's now starting to have a full swing, going to start again. You're going to have probably bars and stuff like that open on the terrace by the end of this year or early next year. That's really cool. Another place for people to go and actually enjoy the socialising and thing. And then also the Westpac on the corner of just in front of the Bridge of Remembrance there, the Westpac Centre. So that'll be open about October 6th.
I wish we had images to show the folks at home, but we'll try and get that done for the 6:30 repeat on this. Some other good news though when it comes to infrastructure too, in terms of just briefly take me through that.
Yeah, so we're now at 60% the way through the whole infrastructure rebuild program, which is really quite a big step forward for the city. That's all the the underground infrastructure, pipes, wastewater, stormwater, all those things. One of the things that I really want to touch on there is that we're about 86% the way through the Central City recovery. So because we're at that stage, we're going to start seeing a lot more development up in the above the ground stuff. In terms of roading, a lot of people were talking to us about roading over the last few weeks because it's starting to get a bit wetter and the roads are deteriorating. We've got about 500,000 square kilometres of roading that has been replaced or repaired. That's only around 30% at this stage. But the thing is, we've not got the money because of because of all of the debt that the council was in. We don't have the money to repair repair all that right now. So it's going to be a long-term process to get our roads back into square one.
Yes, it will be, but I suppose it's the thin edge of the wedge, isn't it? I mean, what do you do and what do you not do? And I guess that's the ongoing conversation we'll have in the city. Of course, the long-term plan due out today, just very briefly touch on that for me. It's very important people have their say, isn't it?
Yeah, so I mean, touching back on that roading thing, this is about that say. So if people want good roads, we can have good roads, but we're going to have compromise somewhere. So the long-term plan, we have a $1.2 billion deficit in our financial plan for the rebuild of the Christchurch city. So that is a massive thing. So what the long-term plan is looking at is actually raising capital through asset sales up to $750 million, raising rates in the city by 8.7% pretty much over the next 4 years. So 8.5 this year, 8.6 next year, and then 7.5 in the final year. And then there's also some other factors in there as well.
I don't think people aren't going to sit down and take that one. The rating, we're looking at a 33% increase over the next 4 years. The council's going to have to cut its cloth. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, what we've got is, this is why there's a consultation going on now. So the council have just released their consultation paper. You go to the council website, you can download that, you can have a look at what that plan is, you can actually then go in and actually have your say about these things, because there are compromises, but this is a starting point. We had to start somewhere,
yeah, you're right.
And this is where it started.
And I think, to be fair on the council too, by law they're legally required to put out a consultation document regardless if they've got the insurance money or not.
So
Dion Swicks, just finally, your Rebuild Christchurch website doing great things, and you've got a great Facebook page as well.
Yeah, so our website www.rebuildchristchurch.co.nz, you can go there, find out all the latest.
You still did dub.
It's habit, yes.
It's not the 90s, Dion. You don't need to say dub, you know.
Yeah, and you can also go to the Rebuild Christchurch Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Rebuild Christchurch.
Facebook.com, Dion Swicks and Rebuild Christchurch. Thanks so much for your time tonight. Well, still to come here on CTV News, your region's weather. Do stay with us. And welcome back to CTV News. Still with the rebuild, while some repairs to some Christchurch schools are finally underway, a number of them will have to wait until next year.
Hornby High School is old, tired and dated, but by the end of 2016 it will be completely new. It's one of 5 schools that will have almost $140 million spent on upgrading and rebuilding classrooms, starting with Hornby in September. Work on Banks Avenue School, Kaipoi High, Linwood College and Cashmere High School will then begin next year. Banks Avenue School will be relocated to a new site and Kaipoi High School will be refurbished. Meanwhile, Linwood College will be completely rebuilt. The work at Cashmere High School has been brought forward by 2 years because of a number of severe issues such as leaky buildings. The second wave of the rebuilding program is part of a $1.1 billion Greater Christchurch Education Renewal Plan, which will see 115 schools remodelled, rebuilt or repaired by 2022. Education Minister Hekia Parata is pleased with the progress of the rebuild program and says Christchurch will have the most modern schooling network in the country once the work is complete. Associate Education Minister Nikki Kay says there is already considerable work underway on 20 major rebuilds of Christchurch schools. This includes the 3 new Brighton primary schools that have combined to form Rawiti School. Pegasus Bay School opened in June last year, and Hallswell School is due to open this Easter. Meanwhile, building for the new Littleton Primary School will get underway in May. Construction of the new schools is timed to match projected demand, as residents return to rebuilt and new suburbs. Work will begin at Kaipoi High School in February 2016, Banks Avenue School in March 2016, and Linwood College and Cashmere High School in April 2016. Over the course of a decade, the rebuild program will build 13 new schools and rebuild an additional 10 on existing sites. The schools will cater for more than 46,000 children once finished.
And for all you royalists out there, this one's for you. A prince is on his way to New Zealand and Christchurch could be on the cards. Prime Minister John Key is welcoming the news of the planned official visit to New Zealand by Prince Harry, the grandson of the 4th in line to Queen Elizabeth II. The Prince will visit the country in May after a month spent with the Australian Defence Force. The Prime Minister says he's very keen to show the Prince as much of the country as possible, as this will be the first official visit to New Zealand. The visit is still in the planning stages and CTV will bring you further details as soon as they're released. And now it's time for the outlook of your weather at your place.
Hello Canterbury, let's take a look at your weather. Timaru, Temuka and Geraldine, you all shared 14 degrees today. Ashburton and Methven, you're on a high of 14 today. Rakaia, 14 for you also. Further north, Darfield, Leeston and Rolleston, you are all sitting on 14 degrees today. Lincoln and Christchurch, similar picture, 14. Over in Akaroa now, it was a cooler day for you guys, sitting on 13. To North Canterbury now, Kaiapoi, Rangiola and Amberley, you are sitting on 14 degrees. Goulburn, Hamner Springs and Cheviot, guess what? You are also on 14 today. Kaikoura, 14 for you. Let's take a look at tomorrow's weather now. Another mostly cloudy and rather cold day in store for Timaru with some breezy southerly winds. Tonight's low is 9, tomorrow's high 14 degrees. To Ashburton now, cloudy and cold for your Wednesday with just some chilly southerly winds. Your overnight low is 9, your high tomorrow 14 degrees. Take a coat tomorrow, Christchurch, because it's going to be a chilly and dull day for you with some southwesterly winds. Tonight's low is 9, your high tomorrow 14 degrees. Up in Kaikoura, another mostly cloudy and rather cold day in store for you with some breezy southerly winds. Your overnight low is 9, tomorrow's high 14 degrees. Taking a look at the other areas around the region now, Temuka and Geraldine, it'll be a cloudy day in the morning as well as the afternoon, 14 for you. Methven and Rakaia, similar picture for you, slightly cooler on 13. Darfield, Leeston, Rolleston and Lincoln, expect a cloudy day here as well, sitting on 13. Over in Akaroa tomorrow, it'll be a cloudy day all day for you, sitting on 13. Kaiapoi, Rangiola and Amberley expect some cloud throughout the day with a cool 13. Goulburn, Hamner Springs and Cheviot, also a cloudy day for you, expect a high of 13. Looking ahead for Canterbury now, it'll be cloudy on Thursday but mostly dry with a few drizzle patches possible throughout the day and cold southerly to southwesterly winds. There'll be a chance of evening frost as well on Thursday. As for Friday, it'll be mostly fine and sunny with just some moderate northeasterly winds. Taking a look at Saturday now, similar picture to Friday, mostly fine and sunny, but just some moderate temperatures throughout the day, but it'll be cold by night time. There'll be some high cloud developing later on in the day. As for Sunday, there'll be some scattered light rain in the morning, and by evening there'll be some cooler southerly winds. And at this stage, there looks like to be some periods of rain from next Monday, but they'll ease to showers later on in the day with some cool southwesterly winds. And that is your weather for Tuesday.
Thank you, Jared. Before we go tonight, don't forget, if you have a news story, a news tip or an idea that our newsroom could cover for you, feel free to email us, news@ctv.co.nz. Don't forget, this broadcast plays on CTV at 6:30 and 9:30 p.m. and is available on demand at ctv.co.nz. Now, before we go tonight, Barrington needs your help. You'll know this story by now. The much-loved playground was damaged after an arson attack. Look at that, pretty disgusting really. They haven't caught the people involved is my understanding, but thank goodness for Ray White, the company close by to Barrington. They've created a Give a Little page and they've also made a donation, so good on them. Sadly, the council says it doesn't have any insurance money as it's seen as uneconomical to insure playgrounds across the city. So it's up to you, the community, to help. Head to my Facebook page, facebook.com/LynchNNZ to see how you can help get the playground back up and running. Good night.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.